Hey everybody, this is me, Undead Viking. This is Galactic Coliseum. Galactic Coliseum is a game about, well, it's about an outer space galactic coliseum. It is basically, remember, do you remember maybe possibly the old coin op game called Smash TV? It was like this futuristic, no holds barred, super bloody game show, if you will, and it was like just a quarter muncher. This is back when arcades were arcades, you know, it wasn't somebody on a Dance Dance Revolution thing going crazy and like two, Buck Hunter games. Like, there was like rows upon rows of like quarter coin operated video games. But anyway, so you had basically, and I'm sure it was, the idea of it kind of came from, like maybe the Running Man movie, remember that? But so like the kind of like the game show where people are getting killed kind of thing. Well, that isn't the best comparison possible, but basically what this is like there are these criminals, and which, actually now that I think about it, Running Man actually makes sense. But there are these criminals that are being subjected, they're being thrown into this giant coliseum. And in this coliseum there are these monsters that are going to pop up. And the players have to kill them as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Because whoever does the best job at slaying the aliens, or the monsters, or the robots, or what have you, whoever does the best job at that will get to actually survive and leave the Coliseum. The rest of them will be executed immediately. So it is totally a winner take all and playing for keeps, as it were. So it is a... I was fascinated by the idea of it. I don't have the minis, but I mean, I would strongly suggest you go and check out the pictures of the miniatures that they're creating for this. They look amazing. But this is definitely a big giant slugfest of a game that I was really excited to play. So let me show you how the game is played, and then we'll come back here and we'll talk a little bit more about Galactic Coliseum. Alright, cool. So this is Galactic Coliseum, and I've gone ahead and set the game up for 4 players, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the setup just because there is a couple of processes you have to go through before you're able to play the game, and I didn't want to actually film myself going through those processes, but you might notice that there's all these little discs that are on the board. Each one of those on the flip side either has nothing on it or it has one of these types of creatures, these alien creatures that you in the Coliseum are being tasked with destroying and killing. The person who does the best job at killing those creatures and claiming little areas on the board by killing them will get the most points and therefore won't be executed at the end of the Galactic Coliseum contest. You have to remember, you're a convicted criminal and you've been thrown in this this Coliseum, this arena, and only one of you is going to be able to live and come out. So you place one of these blue discs on each one of those spots, and then you notice there's these red discs as well, and those spots will have more than one alien on them. Now, to figure out where you're going to put that, you have this deck of cards here, and you're going to draw one of these random decks of cards, and you're going to see, you can see where it'll tell you where to put the red disc, depending upon which one you draw. You'll also notice that there are those yellow cubes. Those are actually gold cubes, and those are also things you collect. Now, these are important things for you to collect because at the end of the game, not only do you get points for each creature you destroyed, but there's also, you're going to get points for, if you got the most blue discs, if you got the most red discs, if you got the most of these little gold cubes, things like that, where you'll get bonus points, and those bonus points can really add up. But you set up the board depending upon which one of these cards you draw. Alright, each person is going to get a player mat that is going to have their convicted criminal, whether it's Artemis, Havoc, Azrael, or Zard. You're going to have those, and also each person's going to get a hand of 7 cards that is theirs and theirs alone. They're going to draw 5 of those cards off the top of the deck, and then they're going to pick 3 of those cards, and the rest of them aren't going to be used. The cards basically have powers that are either going to help you get more points at the end of the game, or when you actually get to the last round of the game, when you open up the last stage, stage 4 of the game, and I'll explain that in just a little bit, you get things. So, like at the game end, +1 gold. Alpha Assassin, +1 alpha kills. Alpha kills are a type of the circle that's out there. And like here's Space Gate. Choose 2 zones with no portals and swap them. So you have different special powers that you have, and you keep those secret, obviously, and don't allow the other players to know what they are, especially the ones that are going to affect the game end scoring, because you might that might be what propels you into like getting those bonus points instead of losing them. And because the game's fairly open knowledge, you don't want people to know your little extra bonus that you have. Alright, this little thing over here is called the Nexus. On every single spot except for these are a different type of siphon gem. I'll explain those in just a little bit. This board here has these translucent colored cubes. Those colors match up with the colors of the alien monsters that you're going to spawn on the board. And you need to collect those to not only move around the Coliseum, but also be able to take out and kill those creatures. You draw them randomly out of the bag, and as you use them to move around the board and kill the creatures, you refill the bag with those cubes. Then, when you go to the next stage, like you have stage 1, you go to stage 2, you will refill the empty spots of the Nexus with those cubes, so you can go ahead and recycle those resources and keep those going. Now, depending upon the number of players that you have, we have all 4 players here. Each player will get a certain number of these portal tiles that basically have their player color on them. In the case of a 4-player game, each person will get 9 tiles. You'll get more if you have less players. The way that the game end is triggered is if somebody actually manages to place all of their portal tiles on these locations on the board. You get bonus points, or you're in the running for bonus points, if you manage to place your tiles next to each other. So you're going to want to try to find different locations where you're able to kill the space creatures on those locations to be able to do that. Now, I should mention, you can do a few things to mess with each other, because you can steal stuff from each other and things like that, but you aren't going to be fighting each other. Your whole goal in this game is to be defeating the creatures. So just keep that in mind. So during stage 1, you can see that's this area. Stage 2 adds that row, stage 3, and stage 4. At the beginning of the game, during stage 1, what you're going to do is you're going to flip over each one of these discs. And then when you get to stage 2, you'll flip over all of those as well. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look at these particular cards. And so you can see here, you're going to look at the color of it, and you can see that this is a Reaper. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a Reaper figure, and you're going to go ahead and place it depending upon the color. You notice this one says none on it. But so what you're going to do is, like you can see, this is a light blue Reaper. You will go to your Reaper figurines here, and I'll just grab one like so. And you'll place it in the standee. Or these would be, obviously these are minis in like the non-standee one that I have. And you just take that off. Here, let me fast forward a bit, and I will put those all out there. Alright, so there we go. We've gone ahead and set up the board with all of the monsters that are available to slay right now. So on your turn, you have 3 different options as far as your actions. You get to do 1. You can, as an action, just pick one of these spots in the Nexus and collect all of the cubes in that location to be able to use as resources later to move around the board and attack a creature. You can, if you wish, another action you can do is you can spend those cubes to move, and each space that you want to move through, and notice you can't move into the stage 2 area, you can't move out of this area until you move forward in the stages. But you can use a cube to move one spot, not diagonally, orthogonally. Now, you can move through an area with other players. You can move through areas with monsters. But wherever you end up, whatever spot you're on, you have to be able to kill that monster. So keep that in mind. So when you move, so like let's say, like here's this particular creature here. This is a sentinel. And you can see it has 3 hit points, and it is light blue. So I need to have 3 light blue cubes to be able to kill this creature. But I have to be able to have a cube to be able to move. So if I was my buddy Zard here, I would need 4 light blue cubes to be able to kill. Well, actually, I need 1 cube of anything, and then 3 light blue cubes to take that out. So then I'd move into that location. I'd spend my 1 cube to move into that location, and then I'd spend my 3 light blue cubes, and then I'd be able to take this as a trophy. And that's important because at the end of the game, once again, remember, you're possibly in the running of bonus points if you're doing the best job of killing off the creatures on the board. Now, the other option you have, and you get one of these to begin the game. This is a siphon crystal. You get one of these to begin the game. Oh, and I should mention, Zard, because he did that, would then be able to place this portal cube down to show that he had claimed that location. But anyway, so these siphon cubes, you get one to start the game, and then in successive stages, you're going to get more. If you use a siphon cube, you can use it to steal 2 cubes from another player. They have to be the same color, and then you can then move and also kill as well. So it kind of lets you mess with another player by taking some of the resources, but also gives you another option if none of like the Nexus areas are going to be giving you the cubes that you need or want to be able to do the action that you want to do. You can move multiple spots in your turn. You just have to spend a cube for each spot that you move. Now, some monsters you're going to fight, or creatures, or whatever you want to call them, are going to be gray. And if it's a gray, they are considered to be kind of a wild monster. And this Reaper, he has 4 hit points. You would need 4 cubes to destroy them, but it'd be 4 cubes of any one color. So you could use 4 light blue cubes. You could use 4 dark blue cubes. You could use 4 yellow cubes. It wouldn't matter as long as the 4 cubes are all of the same color if they happen to be a gray creature. When you get to stage 4 and you open up everything on the board, the last row, at that point you are allowed to actually use the monsters that you've defeated as a resource as well. You can spend them, and obviously, you might be putting yourself in a situation where, you're going to be giving up some points to do it, but it might make sense at that time because you're going to be cashing in for a larger amount. But you can turn in a monster for the color that they are for a single cube of that color when you're making an attack. If the monster happens to be gray, it is considered to be wild, and it can be any color you want when you use those. So that's another added bonus that you can use those trophies for. As I said, the game is over once one person puts the last of their portal cubes, their control cubes basically, on I should say cubes, control discs on the board. When that happens, the game is immediately done. You total up the points for each creature that you killed. Like the tougher creatures, like the arachnids, are going to be worth more than the easy scrapnels. You total up those total points. You give out the bonus points for each category. Like the creatures that you killed. How many of the alpha and beta discs that you collected. How many of the gold you collected. Who's got the most areas connected. Those are all worth 5 points. A bonus. If 2 people tie for it, both people get the 5-point bonus. Whoever has the most points will win the game of Galactic Coliseum. Now, I'll fully admit, when I saw this game, I was like, whoa, look at all those cool minis. Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't have the minis, but I saw the pictures of the minis, and I was like, this sounds really cool. Like an outer space battle arena, you know, where, like, you know, 4 people enter, 1 person leaves kind of thing. But when I got it, it wasn't exactly the game that I thought it was going to be, but that doesn't mean it wasn't... I was pleasantly surprised, I guess, as I should say, that it wasn't something that I thought it was going to be. But let me talk more about that in my conclusion. Alright, so thank you very much. Learn how to play the Galactic Coliseum. Now, as I said, this turned out not to be the game that I thought it was going to be. Now, it might just be my Ameritrash roots and guts, if whatever, but when I heard about the fact that it was going to be this space arena, if you will, I imagined buckets full of dice. I imagined, you know, tons of cool little flavor text. I imagined this like kind of really, really heavy thematic experience. Now, that technically isn't this game. However, this game still is a lot of fun. So let me just kind of backtrack a little bit. Could this game be rewritten thematically to something else? Yeah, sure, totally. But because it's more of a resource-driven game. It's more of a puzzle game, if you will, with a really nice bit of player screwage thrown in. But, you know, it is, you know, thematically it didn't have to be space, but I think the space theme works really, really well for this one. It is totally a resource gathering game. It is an efficiency action game. It is a situation where it's like, do I spend another turn collecting these cubes, or, you know, so I can get that one alien that I really, really need. I really think that will push me over the edge as far as, you know, like getting my different you know, portal tiles placed next to each other so I can have a good chain, you know, of connections. Or, you know, do I just... are my options going to be invalidated by the time that, like, it goes around the table and gets back to me? So I should just take, you know, the cheaper course over here and just go with that. So I'm not wasting a turn. Because remember, the players themselves are determining when the game is over. So that's another cool thing. I always like that in games. That's another thing where basically you will have that ability of, like, you think other people are kind of maybe sandbagging a little bit, or like they're waiting for that perfect, you know, connection or whatever to, like, you know, get like that perfect spot, like I just said in that scenario that I was giving you. You can just start going after the quick and dirty spots, you know, like speeding up the game, taking the game to the next level, getting it to rushing it towards the end. And, you know, and so when all the other people are sitting there cultivating and preparing and, like, you know, trying to squeeze every single, you know, last point out of the situation, by the time they realize what you're doing, you're triggering the end of the game, and their, you know, process hasn't really even taken a step yet, or taken hold, if you will, taken step. So I mean, it has that fun little, like, kind of, you know, how fast are you pressing on the accelerator kind of aspect to it, and something that I also enjoy a great deal about it. You know, ultimately, like I said, it's a puzzle game, and I do like puzzle games. It's when it gets to be your turn, you got to figure out what you want to do, and then you got to figure out how you're going to do it. I mean, you know, how am I going to get my little space villain, my space criminal here? How am I going to get it to that spot that, you know, happens to have this particular monster on it that I need to kill? And how am I going to get there with the cubes that I have? And can I do it this turn? No? Okay, so which one of the cubes off the Nexus am I going to take that's going to allow me to do that next turn? And will it be available to me next turn? So, I mean, there's that wonderful aspect as well, you know, because, like, are the other players going to, you know, just happen to take the one thing that I really, really want, you know? I mean, so, you know, and that's kind of like, I like that tension of the game, too. You know, it's like where, you know, you collect, you know, you're waiting for your turn, and you're just kind of hoping, don't take that one, you know. So there's a lot going on with the game that, like I said, when I realized that it was going to be more of a Euro than a really like a thematic game, you know, I was really surprised at like the amount of enjoyment that I got out of it. You know, when I kind of got flip-flopped as far as my expectations. So there you go. That is Galactic Coliseum. If you have any questions about it, please ask away. I'd be happy to answer those to the best of my ability. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye.